Ready for some sex questions with Sheila? So last month I was in Australia doing a speaking tour, and I did my sex talk where I talk about sex with a bunch of women in churches, and it's a whole lot of fun a number of times. And during that talk I always have a Q&A period. Like, people get to write out anonymous questions, and then I just pull questions out of the box and I answer as many as I can get through in 15 minutes. And I had a huge backlog of questions I didn't get to. So this week I ran my answers to 18 of them, but I had several left over, and I promised that I would answer them in a video today. I have since realized there's no way I can answer 5 questions in one video, so I'm going to tackle 2 of them right now. And the first one, well, this one gets a little bit racy, but it's an important one that I think a lot of you have. So here we go. A woman asked, why does my husband think it's so important if I swallow after oral sex? I didn't actually phrase it that way on the post when I told her I was going to be answering the question, but that's what she said. And she said it even more graphically than that. Like, he wants her to completely take everything. Yeah. And so I was thinking about how to answer that. Here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? If you enjoy that, if your husband enjoys that, more power to you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. My problem comes when she finds that really uncomfortable, which honestly a lot of people do. It's like how, remember when they didn't let you take formula on planes anymore, or liquids at all, or breast milk, and then they realized they had to make an exception, and so one woman came with her breast milk and the TSA agents made her drink it to prove that it was actually breast milk, and she was appalled and everybody was appalled. Like, we naturally have a tendency to say ick. Like, if it comes out of bodies, we don't really want to be taking it in. And so a lot of people struggle with this, and that's okay. Perfectly okay. So the question then becomes, what do you do if he wants you to and she doesn't? And why is it that he wants you to? And that's what I want to get to the heart of right now. Oral sex can be really fun, both for men and women. It feels good when someone is performing it on you. But the question about swallowing goes further than that, because at this point, he has already felt good. It is all over for him. And so her swallowing has absolutely no effect on his physical pleasure. It's only about the dynamics of the relationship. It's only about how he's thinking, all right? And here's where I get a little bit worried, because I worry that what really is arousing him is this idea that he's humiliating her, because that can be seen as a very humiliating thing, okay? That he is somehow above her and she is taking everything in, etc., etc. And so what he's really reacting to, and what he finds really hot, so to speak, is this thing that she will completely debase herself and completely service him. And, you know, there's obviously elements of that which can be hot. Not saying that's a bad thing necessarily, but when it gets too much in that direction, I can worry that what we're really missing out on is intimacy. I mean, this is supposed to be the joining of 2 people where you truly know each other, and if what makes it hot is that one person is in power and one person is degraded or humiliated, that's not cool. All right? I'm not saying that you can't do that sometimes, etc., 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 but I'm saying, like, if that is a typical part of your relationship, that's not cool, and it should never be something that's forced. It is, however, something which is extremely prevalent in pornography, and so when I hear about a guy really wanting this, I think, what's he been watching, and what did he grow up on? Because a lot of times, you know, guys grow up on this stuff, and so do women, by the way, increasingly, and then they get married, and that's still so much a part of how they see sex that they want it to be acted out in marriage. So again, to go over, if you don't have a problem with it, I don't have a problem with it, all right? There's nothing wrong with, you know, wanting to feel completely overpowered and completely taken in the bedroom, and that can be really hot to have him in charge. Not saying there's necessarily anything wrong with that at all, but if there is a dynamic where he feels extremely sexually aroused when you are debased or humiliated, that is a problem, and that detracts from intimacy. So I would just ask him, look, hon, I'm giving you a fun time here, so why is it necessary for me to have to do this for you to continue to feel good when it has nothing to do with how you're feeling? So I think that's an important conversation to have, and talk about what intimacy really is and what we're trying to get out of our sex life, okay? Another question I want to tackle is it okay if the only way that I can orgasm with my husband is with a vibrator? Yeah. I think it is, and I have heard so many doctors recommend to women, if they can't reach orgasm, that they try with a vibrator, because then they'll understand how their body works, and then they can teach their husbands, and then it'll be so much better. My problem is that a vibrator does stuff that your husband never can do. I mean, no guy can vibrate like that, okay? And when your body is getting used to responding like that, it doesn't actually train your body to orgasm with him. It actually can make it even harder. It's like the problem where we grow up masturbating a lot, because you know what, when you're masturbating you get this constant feedback as to what feels good, and so you adjust where you touch, how you touch, etc., to make yourself feel good. Like, to be totally graphic, most women, if you masturbate you can bring yourself to orgasm in like 2 to 3 minutes, max, sometimes even faster than that. But if a guy does it with you, it often takes a lot longer because you just don't have that feedback. Remember the movie with Mel Gibson, What Women Want, when he's able to read their minds? And he's in bed with, I think it's Marissa Tomei, and all of a sudden he knows exactly how he's supposed to touch her, and he becomes the sex god. Well, that's the thing. When you're masturbating and you're using a vibrator, you get that constant feedback, and a vibrator moves in the way that a guy can't, and so you actually train your body to respond in that way, and it can make it actually more difficult to respond with him. I think a far better thing to do is to help teach him how to touch you. And you may not know that because you may not know how to touch yourself, okay? But, if you use his hand to touch yourself, that could work. That's not called masturbating. Like, that is totally okay. Like, if you take his hand and then you make yourself feel good with his hand, he will figure out what feels good. If you just take some sessions where, like, you spend 15-20 minutes where he touches you and you're not allowed to move, he'll start understanding, okay, this feels good, but this doesn't. Like, he'll be able to pick up on what you're doing. And I think it's far more useful to do a lot more of that. Even if you can't reach orgasm during intercourse, you really can learn how to reach orgasm in other ways. And once he understands how your body responds, the rest of it will come. If you can get yourself to the brink of orgasm right before you start intercourse, and then when you're making love, if you make sure that that you're tilting your hips, that you're engaging those muscles so that there's blood flow to the clitoral area, you're going to find that it feels a lot better. So I would just say don't get in this circle where you need a vibrator, because it can be difficult to really feel good with him, because you're training your body to need such intense stimulation to orgasm that it doesn't always work, okay? So there are 2 questions. I got 3 more that I want to maybe tackle next week. And if you are watching this video on my reality check newsletter, thank you so much for being a subscriber. I love doing these extra special things for you guys, and it's a lot of fun to be part of your life. And yeah, I am finally over jet lag, so I'm feeling a lot better. I am, however, also going to put up this video on Monday so that people can watch it on Monday and see some of the stuff that I give to just subscribers. So if you're watching on the blog, why don't you subscribe? Because I make these videos all the time, and I will be making another one on Friday with 3 more questions, and only the newsletter subscribers are going to get that. So come on, sign up to the newsletter. Great to see you all. Keep sending your questions my way. I do see them all, and I try to go through them and answer the ones that I can, and hopefully I'll be able to do more through video pretty soon. Thanks. Bye, guys. Have a great weekend.